welcome to the MMA Plug Show powered by DenverSportsBetting.com. I'm your host, Jordan Kurtz. Unfortunately, our co-host, Ron Kruck, was unavailable today, so I'll be running this thing solo for us. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So the first fight that we're going to be taking a look at for this weekend on the upcoming UFC card is going to be the Derrick Lewis versus Oleinik main event matchup between these two heavyweights. Now, if we're taking a look at the odds, Bet Rivers Colorado is currently sitting at the time of this recording at a -200 or -200 for Derrick Lewis. He is the favorite taking on Oleinik, who is sitting at a +160. Now, this is a matchup that for Derrick Lewis is going to present some obstacles. Derrick has had a little bit of trouble with grapplers in the past, but he has dogs in his hands. I mean, that's the ultimate equalizer when you can end anybody in the world's night with one single punch. And Derrick Lewis has the ability to do so. His last fight against Ilir Latifi, he did get grappled up a little bit, was held down at times. That may be something that Oleinik tries to replicate. And if he does find himself in those advantage positions with Derrick Lewis, Oleinik is a submission specialist. I think it's going to be hard-pressed to find somebody who is at that world-ranked level that will have the total volume of submissions in their pro career the way that Oleinik has. It's incredible. The man has more submission wins than most people even have fights through the entirety of their career. But as far as if we're making a pick here, I'm going to go with the Black Beast. I'm going with Derrick Lewis. Black Beast in this hoe. I think that it's going to be something that he kind of shows that next step that he's been taking. He's been very vocal about how he's really started to take the game serious. He's gotten more serious with his conditioning, his nutrition, his training in general. He's not just going out there and banging, basically. A motivated Derrick Lewis is a scary Derrick Lewis, and especially if he comes out swinging, it could be a fairly quick night there for Oleinik. If we are taking a look at the next matchup, which is the co-main event of the night, you have the All-American Chris Weidman sitting at a -141 as the favorite against Umar Ahmedov, who is sitting at a +115. So it's a very close line as far as this matchup goes, which I think is valid. Chris Weidman even stated himself that he desperately needs to get a W in this matchup. It's been a little while since he's seen himself on that upswing. I think, in my opinion, his last really good performance was the Gastelum fight years ago. I'm a Weidman fan. I watched Chris Weidman fight for a long time. It's one of those sad points that you see in some of your favorite fighters' careers as they start to get to those golden years and the twilight portion, to where they take a couple of losses, take a couple of tough losses at that. Not just losses, take a couple of tough losses, take a couple of knockout losses. Omari, I don't think will knock him out, but Omari does have some pretty crazy power. He ducks his head and throws that right hand, which, it may find its mark, it may not. We'll see. I think that we're going to see Chris Weidman try to get back to a little bit more of the grappler. He said that the All-American is back. So in my mind, the way that I interpret that statement that Chris Weidman made is he's going to do some more grappling. He's going to do some wrestling within this matchup. I've had a pretty decent amount of experience watching Omari's recent fights. He's fought a couple of guys who I'm very familiar with in Zach Cummings and in Ian Heinisch. And he's got a very awkward style. One thing that Chris Weidman cannot be waiting for is to go. Omari's going to want to try to counter. The best move for Chris, if he's not able to get him right away off of that jump, is to try to bait and counter the counter. That's going to be where I see some of the best successes. He's going to have to use a complete mixed martial arts skill set, but as long as he doesn't rely on just having to piece him up top, I think that it's going to be finally a hand raise for Chris, the All-American Weidman. Again, you hate seeing some of these guys who were, your former world champions, just the elites, the best of the best, go and take some of these hard losses and, these knockout losses similar to, his last fight or, like the Yoel fight. Nobody wants to see that when that's someone who you've had a great level of adoration and respect for and watching, but that's the game. It kind of cannibalizes itself from time to time. Den, if we're going to look at a fight to keep your eye on, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give a fight for you to keep your eyes on that might not be on most people's radar, but the hardcore fans are definitely going to know it. So this is something for you to keep your eye on. And this, in my opinion, is going to be a good fight to see. And that's going to be Dariush against Scott Holtzman. Right now, Bet Rivers Colorado has Dariush coming in at a -177. So it's a close line. It's a very, very close line on this fight with Holtzman being at a 140. So this is gonna be a tight matchup if the odds makers are right. I see Beneil potentially pulling it off. He looked good in his last fight. You know, he fought. Yes, the start of the fight, did he get touched a little bit? Sure, against Jakar. But the way that he was able to rebound and recover and then proceed to finish that fight leads me to believe that he's putting some things together within his camp and in his training, and he's just got a revitalized approach to what he's bringing to the octagon. I'm going to go ahead and take Dariush this weekend in that matchup. And then, just so you all know, you're going to see a future superstar on this card. He's already a star, but he's going to be a future superstar. Future world champion. Again, you are listening to the MMA Plug powered by DenverSportsBetting.com, and the fighter to keep your eye on this weekend is Yusuf the Moroccan Devil Zalal. The 23-year-old that hails from Casablanca, Morocco, fights out of Factory X in Denver, Colorado, Englewood technically, but he's going to be taking on Slippery Peter Barrett out of Boston. I just think Yusuf is too skilled. Yusuf has all the tools of someone who is going to just continue to climb the ranks and ascend up the hierarchy of the UFC. You know, I truly believe that this young man is going to be a world champion someday. He's so fast. He's still growing and developing physically as far as, you know, muscle maturity and growing into his body. He's now finally got the go ahead, got the green light that he's staying at 145 pounds. And that for him, I feel like is only going to be beneficial in the long term. Why do I say that? Because when he went to the UFC PI and they got him tested out, they were able to determine that it was going to be a very rough cut to get down to 35. It could be done, but the majority of the camp would be focused more on issues related to the cut as opposed to the training and programming. So that being said, the smarter move, also being that he's only 23, is to stay at the 145-pound division, which is what he's taken both of his first two UFC short notice fights on. Again, another short notice fight. So he's a short notice king right now. But I think that that's going to be beneficial for him in the long run. It's not going to be as much wear and tear on the body, and it keeps him available. Say that these were 35 opportunities, probably can't make that happen within 2 weeks' notice. Just a reality of the situation. So once again, that is Yusuf the Moroccan Devil Zalal as your fighter to keep an eye on. Bet Rivers Colorado has him coming into the matchup as of this recording at a -480 favorite. So the people see it as well. It's not just me talking or not just me saying it to you. It truly is something that the people out there believe in this kid as well. The charisma, the cage presence, and the fight IQ at a young age are just such a huge, complete package that he brings out there. And I couldn't be more excited to see my boy Yusuf the Moroccan Devil Zalal go out there and do his thing. Now, to transition off of that, just to wrap up on the weekend, there has been a lot of fights that have been going on. Last week was the first time in months where we had a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday slate of action. So I do want to throw a shout out to all of the Colorado fighters who have been in action over the last couple of weeks. Thank you all for showing us the love. And if there are any of you out there who wish to be featured, be interviewed, showcased throughout our platform, please do not hesitate to reach out. This is all for you at the end of the day, and we want to do everything we can to show love to the game, and we will grow together. Thank you all for following along. This is Jordan Kurtz with the MMA Plug, powered by DenverSportsBetting.com. See you next week.